Friends, it is Monday. It is time for hashtag Real Race Talk. It is a Revved Up Sports Show. Showtime, Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez, all of you diving in for another Monday as we get set to talk some racing. And we got a lot going on. 7 o'clock, we're going to talk to the showstopper, Jake Wright, champion yet again in the trucks at Houston. We'll talk to him. And then Grant Whitney Jr. will join us at 7:30 as we're going to have a conversation with him because he is the HMP. It's a very heavy HMP show. But hell, that's the only thing that was racing this weekend. So before you start beating us up about where's the dirt? Where's the dirt? Well, canceled.
Canceled and rained out, yeah.
Canceled for crying out loud. So anyway, but I mean, Grant Whitney counts for dirt in my opinion.
Well, he did drive a dirt car on the pavement, so I guess that counts.
I mean, not that it matters, but I mean, just just being fair because, we want to be fair to everybody because that's what it's all about. The show is always presented by On Demand Shirts. Of course, that's a place where you can get all of your great gear for your racing. And there's somebody was asking me the other day. It was like, I think they had like a fair or something coming up in a smaller town in Texas. And they were like, "Hey, the shirt company that you talk about all the time, do you think they could forward me a lead to somebody that might be able to do, for our event?" I'm like, "Shit, they'll do it."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so the Halloween shirts and all of that. I mean, they'll take care of everything. They're your one-stop shop for everything you need.
Yeah, I know, great people down there. Working on getting my new logo done up on some hats and some shirts, hopefully. So if they can take care of us, they can definitely take care of y'all too.
That's right. Throughout the show, you guys feel free to check in on the chat lines on Facebook and YouTube. If you're on the Racing America feed on Twitter, you can probably post to Twitter and reply there, but it's not going to show up where we can actually see it until after the program. And if you are on the free Texas Sports Unfiltered app, that's audio only, use the text line from TSU, and that's the Coda text line, 512-222-9328. So, Bobby, when we talk about expanding our syndication, how about that to where we go to TSU and damn, now Coda's a part of this program, crying out loud.
Gotta love how networking works, right? It's that's the key of it. You got to work together as a team to get things accomplished. We saw it this weekend in sports, both at the college football level and at the local racing level. So yeah, it's a team win, right? The bigger the team, the more grabs you have, or the bigger grab that you have. So that works for all of us.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So once again, that Coda text line, if you want to be a part of that, 222-9328. We'll be checking in on that throughout the program, because we know that we do have folks that still do kind of just check in audio. That was kind of the thought with jumping over with BK and all of them to have that available for people, because we don't have our own app. So very gracious of him to offer that up. Bobby, before we dive into all the fun and before we talk to the great guests that we have lined up today, obviously Veterans Day, so a very somber day for many. I mean, or it should be. I mean, if it's not something, I mean, I know a lot of folks are probably excited because they're off. I mean, it needs to be more than that. I would hope, but I mean, this is a rough day. I mean, and it's a day of remembrance. And I think I said this Saturday night, to where I think that, I mean, this is the day to observe, but you need to honor veterans like all the time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not to forget though, it's more than just Veterans Day. It's just that we call it in the U.S. All over the rest of the world, and with all our allied countries that were there in World War II, it's Remembrance Day,
Yeah.
because it was the end of the world. It was the end of World War II for the 11/11. So, that's when it came through. So, it's always a Remembrance Day for everybody of the other countries. It's Veterans Day for us. So that's always a good thing, man. I think it was the end of World War II. Maybe that was back in August. I don't know. Anyway, it's called Remembrance Day all over the world with all of our allies. So
Yeah.
that's what we should probably. I mean, I like Veterans Day, but a lot of people had the day off because the mail don't run and banks were closed and stuff like that. But it was more to it than that. So
Yeah, for sure. And Bruce Wright, thank you, Bruce Wright. And by the way, I mean, I heard a really cool story this weekend about how with the VFW quarter midget track, how Bruce's dad, one of the original, that helped build that, of course, right there at the VFW, at the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and kind of a whole story of how that was told. So really cool thing there. Voice is better, Bruce. Yesterday there was no voice. There was absolutely no voice. It was gone. I got home. And the dog's like just staring at me all day. She's like, she didn't know what was going on. I mean, because my conversations are with her. And I said it on the show this morning, where I'm like, the dog was freaking out because I couldn't talk. Everybody else in the house was totally excited because I couldn't talk. But it's back today. It's back today for now. Anyway.
For now, anyway, right? So that's a good thing.
At least
I mean, you had a little partner there in Houston. At least that was doing the quarter midget stuff for you.
Isaac Garcia, man. So that I'll tell that story in a minute, because we're getting into fun stuff, and I think there's some business that we need to take care of before we have too much fun. So in observance of November 11th, of Veterans Day, let's take about 2 minutes here to just kind of sit and think about some things. There you go. Very well said, I think, with everything right there. And like we said, there's a lot of folks, and they need to be appreciated each and every day. I mean, this is the day that there's really the attention there. And hats off to all the businesses and so forth around. I know up here, I'm sure down there out your way, Bobby, that whether it be free meals or discounts or whatever the case is, that's something that I think is really that's something that really honors those folks.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
and I
no,
think it's really good because of the fact that they do those programs for the veterans. Not only this place to eat, a lot of schools locally were doing some of the Veterans Day program with some of the veterans that were still in the area. So that was the kind of a cool deal. Saw some of that on social media earlier, where some of the veterans got to come out and teach or talk to the kids. Nowadays it's a forgotten thing, right? With today's generation, you never know what they're going to retain versus what they want to retain, kind of deal. So the fact that the schools are doing a Veterans Day thing, I hope that they, although it's kind of that catch-22. It's like a lot of the schools are off the day after Halloween, but yet they're not off for Veterans Day when everything else is closed. But I think at least today they were trying to teach them about the value of the veterans and the stuff that they stood for. So that's
yeah,
good.
that's Bobby. That's stuff that needs to be taught. I know there's a lot of questions with education and so forth, and I'm sure I mean, with your wife and her profession, I mean, I'm sure that you guys have conversations about what curriculums are and so forth these days, and I mean, there are just things that need to be taught. I mean, they're if anything, whether you call it teaching, but the appreciation thing, and I think that's maybe something that with some of these kids these days, if you learn them about those kind of things, maybe that helps the respect factor and all the different things to know that it's not as easy, wasn't as easy for others as it is for them, because they basically do jack shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think that it's sometimes that's not learned, that's earned, right? Kind of deal. So hopefully that hopefully it made a difference today. It was kind of the same deal. Like some of them were related to either teachers or related to some of the students, like grandparent stuff showing up. So that I think that helped resonate with the kids and stuff, at least with the program that I saw. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good stuff right there. Good stuff. Our man Milton Hope checks in. Thank you for your service as well, there, Mr. Hope. Yeah, and it was Marine's birthday yesterday. Saw lots of posts and lots of thanks and folks celebrating the birthday of the Marine. So yes, absolutely. So we thank each and every one of you, and because Bobby, I think I saw a post that you did, and it's like, or maybe on the Revved Up page. That you would have done, because I know I didn't do it. If you didn't do it, I don't know who did it. Where it's like, I mean, if it wasn't for these great folks, I mean, we don't get to do this. We don't get to race. We don't get to do any of that stuff.
oh yeah,
And
that's what I did this morning.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's super important right there. We always need to have those folks front of mind. And I think we've talked about this before. Where racing drives me crazy for a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons, the one damn thing that I'm really proud of is that racing does really do a lot with the military and acknowledges the military, reaches out, gets them involved, and shows the appreciation that they deserve.
Yeah, it'll be kind of cool with the UTSA game on Friday night, despite the fact it's going up and going to be head to head against some playoff football. It's Military Appreciation Night on Friday night at the UTSA game. So Milton will be a big part of that as the PA guy down there for the UTSA Roadrunners. So that'll
Yeah.
be looking forward to that in my season ticket seats, and going to hang out and have a good time on Friday night.
I was over at Tarleton State last week, which is where I think I caught this. Thank you, Kendall. But it was military appreciation game that she invited me up for that, and the pre-game ceremonies and so forth. I mean, that's an A&M affiliate school right there. So you can only imagine. Obviously, you have the military effect in and of itself, but being a one of those schools in the Texas A&M system, it's only going to magnify with that added stuff. So very touching stuff. Just and just really glad to see that in those colleges like that, and when you have those games, that they showcase the students that are actively involved in the military, and the better part of it, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of them that take place in it, and throughout. That's most ROTC programs get under recognized both at the high school level and at the college level. So it's a great way to get the next generation. We talk about trying to find ways to get the next generation involved in racing. It's the next generation trying to find ways to get them involved with the with the armed services. So that becomes a challenge. I know that they have a lot of complaints with some of the Army sponsorship and National Guard sponsorships of racing over the years, but apparently it was justifiable for the number of events and number of people they got to sign up and serve versus the cost of it. So I think it kind of worked out. You still saw it at a lot of the NHRA stuff. Obviously, Dale Jr. sponsored by National Guard for a number of years, and not only that, in their years in the sport. So it's always remember those Army cars of Mark Martin and Joe Nemechek and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of cool deal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So speaking of NASCAR, and again, we will intensively break down the championship and so forth, because I mean that was really the big story. I mean, and lots of stories surrounding it. But of course, like we said, Jake Wright coming up in about 12 minutes. So we want to talk to Jake, and then Grant Whitney coming up in there. So we'll kind of pull the NASCAR in there as we can, Bobby. But I wanted to get your thoughts here as to two things, not so much about the championship and the race and in and of itself, all of that yesterday, but a couple of things yesterday. We saw the end of the winning streak for Kyle Busch, and as we got towards the end of this thing, I think people were really holding out hope that Kyle Busch was going to find a way to win one. But I mean that team is just, I'm sorry, the team is just no good. I mean, if it isn't a plate track, or not a plate track, if it isn't a super speedway or something like, we can say that. If it ain't a plate track, they're not going to contend. I mean, you may get in a one-off where Ace has been fast, but it's really sad to see that, man, because like him or not, the dude's one hell of a driver. And I really wanted to see him win this year, just to keep that going.
Yeah, just keep it going. I mean, like I said, I've always said he's having the year this year, but he thought he would have last year. Obviously picked up, I think it was 3 wins last year over there at RCR, and this year they can't get out of their own way.
Yep.
There was a couple of times there at the beginning of the season he was trying to contend and was actually leading the Daytona 500 there at the beginning of the season, and actually got a chance to try to win a few races there at the beginning. But I mean, that thing fell off the rails. It fell off the rails in a hurry and by a mile, and they just couldn't seem to get it back. Obviously, they found something with the short track package there at Richmond, where Ace was able to bulldoze his way to the win, but he was there all night long. So, I mean, with the fact he was up front enough to contend for the win was a surprise that night too. So to see RCR continue to struggle, you don't like to see it. Obviously, they're still, top tier Chevrolet team in terms of the pecking order. But I think now, obviously, Hendrick's number 1. I think you see probably Trackhouse number 2, RCR number 3 now on the pecking order there at Chevrolet, and Trackhouse kind of struggled this year too. So it's surprising to see some of the struggles from Chevrolet. Although next year going to race the unnamed Camaro again till they find something else to replace it. So I think that was kind of a surprise too. It was the last race for the Camaro, despite the fact they're still going to run Camaros next year. They're just going to be called Chevrolets instead of Chevy Camaros.
Yeah. And I think that this is a point right now for Kyle Busch where he is with his career. There's nothing that makes a unpopular driver popular than not winning all the time, because it really seems like in these days that's what makes a driver unpopular, is they win all the time. And Jimmy Johnson's the nicest guy you could find, but people didn't like him because he won all the time. I mean, by questionable means or whatever the case. And but the whole thing is they did what it took to win championships. And now that Kyle Busch isn't winning every week, I mean, it really seems that people have softened up with him, and the move over there to Richard Childress, I think, really magnified that, because that's one of the most popular figures that you're going to find in the NASCAR world. But I think that what could really be one of the most popular wins of all, well, maybe not of all time, but at least in the recent top 5, would be if we get to Daytona in February and that dude wins the Daytona 500, because that's been one that's gotten away from him a lot of different times. And I think for Kyle, that would maybe help kind of ease a little bit of this, because he's upset about that. I mean, the dude's a winner. And that brings in the second guy into this conversation. Yesterday the end for Truex, and obviously not the day that Truex ended. He got the 2 poles at the end, but what if, and I heard an interview with Truex yesterday where I was driving home and they said, somebody asked him, it was that guy Spencer, Lee Spencer's husband, said, so in February, what are you going to be doing when Daytona rolls around? He said, I'll be in Daytona driving a cup car.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's like all the, if Truex or Kyle Busch could win the Daytona 500, I think that'd be really nice.
He's come close a couple of times.
Really
Truex
has.
has.
Yeah, he really has.
Bush was actually leading last year, and then they had a caution come out on lap mile 499, 498 or something to the Daytona 500. So it's interesting. I mean, we'll wait and see. I mean, obviously there's that talk of a rogue engineer stealing secrets and giving it to another team. They never outright said which it was, but everything we heard on the inside level was JGR over to RCR. So we'll, when they kept saying they found something over the summer, maybe that's what they found. So
yeah, no doubt. And I may be wrong. You all can correct me if I am. I think, is Cole Pearn going to be a part of this as well? I think in February. So I think if you get those two guys back together, that's, I mean, nothing like a little good chemistry with somebody you're comfortable with. So getting those two together, although Cole Pearn's been out for a little bit. Cole Pearn ain't messed with this car, has he?
no, not this car.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, that may mess all that up. So
Of course, and it depends on what the status is of 2311 going forward too. So
yeah.
The rumors are they may not show up for Daytona, but you don't spend all that money to not have race cars. So
yeah, I don't think so. And that's the other question, before we get into the Sunday stuff, the weekend stuff, is like with Tyler Reddick, because I was thinking about that over the weekend as well, since he got himself in to he was in it last year too, wasn't he? Yeah. No, he wasn't. Okay. So he was
not
in
the Final Four, not the Championship Four.
Not the Championship Four. So, I mean, imagine that. I mean, because I know a lot of people were upset there when, and again, you're kind of spiting one of the legendary benchmark figures in NASCAR when you make the move to go race for that demon Toyota team. But Tyler Reddick, you have to think about that. I mean, you want to talk about a career advancement. I mean, I don't think Tyler Reddick would have been racing for a championship yesterday if he was still driving for Childress. And man, that guy right there, I think he's on the cusp of really doing some great things if they can get all these distractions and all this other stuff out of the way.
I think so. I mean, I think that Hamlin's the same way, having the distraction, knowing that FedEx is leaving, and then having the distraction of the lawsuits and stuff against NASCAR with 2311 and stuff like that. So it is a challenge for that team. It's great to see. I always say it's great to see Michael Jordan at a racetrack because that's big. I mean, that's the most recognizable sports figure in the world, despite what some people think about the current generation NBA stars. But when he's at a racetrack, that's special because he's got a lot of stuff to do and he's got a lot of business interests, but he's there supporting his team. Obviously, he was there yesterday with a chance to win a championship. But I just think that they ran like garbage yesterday. It's kind of sad when you say you ran in the top 10 pretty much all day and ran like garbage because you finished like 6th or 7th. But when the other couple of championship contenders finish 1, 2, 3, and you're running 6th or 7th, that's not a good day at the racetrack for that.
That really was the thing where I thought that we were going to see. I thought that we were going to see a pretty good piece from them. I don't know if they missed on something or what the whole deal was. I mean, because Blaney qualified, I guess 17th, so he was the worst of them all in qualifying it. And I really felt confident. I mean, I picked Tyler Reddick to win the championship, and they just seemed like a step behind all day, man. I couldn't figure out exactly what the problem was with them. But they just never got anything underneath them, or I don't know if it's that the others were so good, but just as it typically does, it's the top 3 or 4 sitting right there in the front again. And that's when I start asking questions. It's like, man, come on. I know it's not an inside job. I know it's not, but when that happens, because it happens all the time. And
it happened Saturday, happened Friday, with the top 4 all running right there together towards the end. So big win for our buddy Majeski, friend of the show, been on a couple of times. That was a dominating performance. And congrats to Justin Allgaier finally getting his 7th try for number 7, and he finally gets it. So that was a cool deal. Very, very smart move when he let Riley Herbst just go underneath him, because it didn't matter if he won or not. Second place won the title, and you didn't worry about getting wrecked or anything else coming to the line. So smart move by that team. So yeah, that was a lot of it was a fairly entertaining championship weekend there in Phoenix, all the way through, from the trucks to the cup.
I got to tell you, I don't know if it was. I don't know. I was all thrown off yesterday anyway. I mean, I couldn't talk. I was having, like, Saturday night, my ear was all jacked up. I mean, I was having equilibrium problems. I mean, it felt like I was going to fall over a couple of times. And that was still kind of the thing yesterday, where I was just thrown off. I didn't really enjoy that race, to be honest with you. It was like, oh, I know what it was. I had the Cowboy game on at the same time. I
Yeah,
think
that probably hurt your momentum there, going from one to the other.
one throttling to, well, no, the other one wasn't a throttling, but it was, I don't know. It just, I don't know. I don't know what it
It
was.
got better with 30 to go.
It did. I think I expected more, especially with, and this is where it really sucks when you get into the cup stuff, because you have, and this happens a lot, to where you have all this shit that's happening even during the regular season, where it's like you have this incredible race, and you name the track, usually a road course, and then you go to Dover, and it's like, okay, I got all jazzed up for 2 days for that. It's kind of what I felt like yesterday. Maybe it's because Joey won. I mean, I don't dislike Joey Logano so much, but it's like, I don't know. I felt empty afterwards. I'm like, all right.
I was indifferent. I mean, I was good either way, whether it was Blaney or, I was surprised to see, under this format, for somebody to go back to back. One, you got to make it to the championship for back to back years, and then you have a guy that has a legitimate shot with 50 to go. I think he was right. He just burned up his stuff getting around Kyle Larson and William Byron and stuff like that to get to Joey. So I don't know, 3 in a row for Penske. Obviously, he set the standard. Everybody, if I have to see another one of those, congratulations to Chris Bell for winning the Winston Cup Series championship. Tough shit. It ain't Winston Cup championship no more. We've been doing playoff racing for 20 years. They started the chase for the NASCAR stuff in 2004. It's 2024. I'm never watching again, but yet I'm still bitching about who's the champion.
Oh, Bobby, I'm sorry to tell you, you're going to see it again, because I'm pulling it up later to prove your point, though. to prove your point. We'll talk about that a little bit later as we go. Speaking of winning multiple championships, of course, Joey Logano, 3-time NASCAR Cup champion now. They're in the 22. Oh, man, and I've got some really good sound I want to play for you, Bobby. When Joey Logano went over to the 22, I think you posted something about, the right timing and all that. Oh, man, I felt some good sound last night. There's another 3-time champion, but he's in Texas right here with us. We do race asphalt in Texas, friends. We really do. Racing America, friends, we still do. There's asphalt racing in Texas. 3-time, like LeBron, not 1, not 2, 3-time truck champion over at Houston Motorsports Park in Houston, which is the what, Bobby?
The Palace of Power.
It is our man, Showtime. Damn, I had it going, man. The showstopper.
How's it going, guys?
Showstopper, Jake Wright. Damn, I practiced that all day and still found a way to fuck it up. Damn it.
It's all good, Rodney. It's all good.
Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Doing good, man.
We're just hanging out, man. Tell us about Saturday. Obviously, Mother Nature got in the way a little bit of the party and the celebration, but I guess at the end of the day, it still worked out in your favor one way or the other. You guys were kind of up and kind of geared up for the championship with the way the points were lined out anyway. But tell us about Saturday night. Actually, never mind. I'll get into that in a little bit. Tell us about your race on Saturday night. I know you had another special race in there too on Saturday. So
yeah, that was cool. But no, I was a little disappointed. Obviously, that was unexpected. It was misting a little earlier that day, and it went away. And I thought it was going to do the same thing when the mist came, and it did not. It just kept coming and coming. And I was like, oh man, how's the track looking, boss? And my dad said, I think we're about to lose the track. And about 10 minutes later, Yeah, they called it. So it was disappointing. I wanted to race. I was looking forward to racing Zach and Max and everybody else. You know, it was going to be a fun race, I think. But hey, it happens.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. Jake, talk about that part. I mean, you mentioned, I mean, it's with the trucks here, and folks talk about the trucks here in Texas. It's not just here. I mean, it's with the
Right.
truck series. I mean, you look at Pensacola and Mobile and Georgia. I know there's different trucks. You get into the middle part of Florida, but I mean, everybody's having a hard time. And kind of talk about that though, because it seems like in Houston that you may not have 30 of them. But when you have fields like you did the other night, I mean, it's a field of maybe 8 or 10, but it's 8 or 10
Right.
badasses, it seems like.
Yeah, no, it's always competitive. That's the great thing. No matter what, I mean, it's always competitive. Of course, it'd be nice to have 20, 30 trucks, but you know, reality is it's just probably not going to happen. Um, and I, you know, that's okay because, like I said, the talent is there. Everybody is talented. It's always a great race. So that you know, you can only control so much. You know, guys, you really can. You know, the ones that are going to show up, they're going to show up. If they don't, they don't. And you know, for understandable reasons. You know, everybody has their reasons, and rightfully so. I'm just saying, you know, yeah. But no, what we have is great, and and like I said, Zach and every Max and all them, they're you know they're great competitors. You know, so yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jake, talk about the evolution of the trucks. You've been running them a long time, and it seems like there for a while. Obviously, we talked about back in the heyday where you had, you know, when Kyle was running and Houston was running full time and Corpus and all the asphalt tracks are up and running. You
Mhm.
know, there 10, 12 years ago, the trucks were popular.
Right.
Obviously, they ended up being the top class when Gina took over there and the rebirth of Houston with NASCAR sanctioning and stuff like that, where you got a NASCAR title out of it. But talk about the overall, like, I mean, the evolution of the trucks from when you started to where they're racing right now. Not so much the truck count, but just the
Mhm.
overall feel of the truck itself and the power to weight ratio and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot more powerful, a lot more aggressive. Yeah, it's definitely different. Whenever we were racing in Kyle, you know, those days were they were like way you know way slower, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a big change. I mean,
big
just
change. Yeah.
transmissions, just that. I mean, uh,
Hmm.
that tells you how much it's changed at this point. Jake, what do you think? Kind of getting your thoughts here, just with and I'll talk about the Southeast. I'm talking about from Texas all the way up to, let's just say, New Smyrna, kind of those spots. So when it comes to pavement racing, like we talk about, the truck's kind of falling back a little bit. So are the modifieds. I mean, the modifieds are doing the same thing, and there's different variations of modifieds, supers and pros. I mean, you know that they are what they are. I mean that's a different animal. Late model stocks. Do you think that late model stocks are something that the Cars Tour does amazing stuff? You think that's something that if you could migrate something like that into our little territory here, I mean, everybody will say yes, I'll do it, but do you
Right.
think people might actually do that?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing if we could ever do something like that. That would be great. That would be great for Houston. Yeah, I don't know how, but if there's a way, absolutely, let's do it. In my opinion.
Mhm.
All right, dude. So I'm gonna ask, and you got to hold back the tears. How cool was it there on Saturday to hang out with little Logan and watch him race there at the same track that you raced for years, dude?
I got to tell you, I had to hold him back while I was watching him. That's for sure. But I can't thank HMP enough and the Quarter Midget Association for everything they did that night. That was really special. It's a feeling like it's hard to explain, but it's a special feeling watching your kid, you know, kind of do the same thing that you and your family did throughout the years, and especially coming full circle at HMP like that. I mean, it's truly amazing. It's a
Yeah.
great picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Jake, kind of what Bobby's asking right there. I mean, I think that I was really amazed how I wasn't sure how the timing of everything was going to work the other night when it came to the meet and greet and
Right.
what the quarter midgets were doing.
Mhm.
Did you see how those people were just lined up on that?
I know, and he was like, "Look at all those people." I said, "I know, you better do good." Yeah, I was amazed. I thought that was great. That's they stole the show in my opinion that night. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, they were oohing and on. I was like, oh, with
I
close
agree.
calls and everything. It was fun. It was. I think everybody enjoyed it. I think we should do more of that, in my opinion. But
I'm with you.
So back to Logan there. Do you have more fun racing with him, or do you have more fun racing with your dad? Or is it
nowadays,
different because Bruce does both?
it's different. I have a lot more fun. It's nerve wracking, man. It's stressful, but it keeps you on your toes, and it's like it's just a different feeling when you're doing it as a parent. It really is, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So, Al, talk about the progression of Logan. What was there a moment for him? I mean, because I think we've all had it as racers to where it just kind of comes on. I mean, for obviously for me compared to you, mine was much later in life, but in yours, much later than Logan's. I mean, was there something that happened with him? Because it was like I remember when he first started, and you guys would share the experiences and so forth, and then as I followed that, then boom, I'm looking and he's standing on podiums and shit. And I'm like, what happened? I mean, did he crash? I mean, because a lot of times that's what it takes. What was it that just kind of turned the switch on for him?
Well, I mean, he's brave, man. Like he won one race, and he I wouldn't say he flipped, but he went on his side. And I mean, it would be enough to, kind of startle me. And I looked right at him. I said, do you want to get out? Are you okay? And he's like, no, I want to keep going. And hey, that little man, he got after it and he won. I mean, and he struggles sometimes with, giving people room and, passing and everything. But, he's six, so it's all part of it. It's fun teaching him and he'll get it.
Figure it out.
So what's the next step for both of you? He's going to continue in quarter midgets, I'm assuming. Are you still going to stick with the truck? I mean, I know every year we talk to your dad when you get to the Derby. He's like, I think I want a modified. I think I want a late model. What's your plans for Logan, and what's Bruce's plans for you?
Yeah, Logan's gonna continue on. Me definitely going for a modified. It already came out of the powder coat, so that's parts done. Just need to finish it off with parts, and we'll be ready for the opening day.
Dude, that right there is super exciting. And also tell folks, because I've got mine on, and look over here. I mean, come on, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, new T-shirt. My hat's in the other room, but yeah, new T-shirt, new hat.
Right there.
Absolutely.
There it is right there. And I believe this is on-demand shirts, I believe.
On-demand shirts. Yes, thank you, on-demand shirts. I think we're going to be selling $30. If hit up Jake Wright Motorsports, and we'll be sure and get you one. I forget the hat prices. I'll have to check with the hat prices, but yeah.
and you can get an autograph like mine. That's $10 extra. I had to pay Jake $10.
There you go.
Get him to sign it. So Jake, your thoughts with the modified? Obviously that's going to be, I mean, I like to talk about those cars because they have so much horsepower and they're on little bitty ass tires. Have you driven one of those? I mean, nothing. So you're going to be green like the screen behind us.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a whole new learning curve for me. Dude, just picking up the rear end, I'm like, holy smokes, this thing is, this ain't nothing compared to mine in the truck, So, yeah, no, it's going to be hugely different. So I'm excited though. I'm excited to learn. I'm not trying to win as soon as I get in, so just going to take it nice and easy and learn as I go. Just no big deal.
There you go.
That's the best way to look at it, dude. Obviously, everybody wants to go out and win, but I think having predeceived expectations of where the program can be the first year out, I think is definitely one consideration. Talk about the legacies, dude. Obviously, you started hitting your stride when you ran legacies years and years ago, but that class is on a resurgence. Talk about that from when you started racing them, 10, 12 years ago.
was nothing like it is now. The car count is huge now. It's crazy, and that's awesome. That's just great for the sport. It's just amazing from whenever I was racing it to now. The growth is amazing. So no, that yeah, I don't know how it happened, but I'm glad it happened. Great, it's great.
Yeah, they definitely have hit a different gear with what they've been able to do with that. So Jake, with the truck. So now with the truck, what's going to happen? I mean, I know that you can double dip. I mean, I know a lot of people do that. Is that something where you're going to try to race both? What's going to happen with that? I mean, that truck right there. I mean, that's a jewel. Are you kidding me? I mean, 3-time champ on one of these sides. I mean, that thing right there is that's a rare find. What's going to happen with that machine?
I I still don't know yet. They at the end of the race this past one, they said something about double feature for the truck or whatever.
Mm.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. If somebody wants to buy it, if the right person, who knows. But yeah, no, I'm more focused on the modified than anything, really. So
Oh, hell, look out. All right.
Oh, look out. The showstopper and a show-stopping ride. How about that? That'll be fun. Where are you gonna put it? You gonna put it across the windshield? You gonna put it across the back? Where are you gonna put showstopper on that thing?
maybe the back, who knows? Same spot.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. It's worked well so far. So for the kiddo, for Logan, I know that there's some nationals and stuff because I know Isaac, my replacement, was not racing the other night because he's got something in Florida. What's next for him? How does quarter midget work? I mean, with Austin and San Antonio, do they keep on? I mean, is there a little lapse in there for holidays, or what's their schedule look like going into the new year?
Yeah, so they do regional races or and local races as well. San Antonio and Austin, they combine. They whichever race, but they do nationals in each state. No, it's a really cool program. Really cool program.
Mhm.
Does the Metroplex have a quarter midget club, or you happen to come all the way down to Austin and San Antonio to race?
Yeah, River City and Lone Star Quarter Midget Association.
Wow, that's crazy that big in the Metroplex. I like there's not one in Houston and there's not one in the Metroplex either. That's pretty crazy.
Oh, it's kind of like asphalt. Asphalt racing is, you know, get what you get in Texas, but it's good. There's at least two of them.
Jake, talk about, because I mentioned there, because I know your granddad with the VFW track here in Austin. Miss Ellie was talking she was talking to, I think, Terry Barden, and kind of talking about the history of all of that. So it was actually your granddad was one of the gentlemen that built that, right?
Yep.
On VFW property.
Yeah.
And he's a veteran as well.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Absolutely honoring the veterans today. Absolutely. Thinking about those that serve. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that track used to be a pond where people would go drink beer and fish, and and next to it was a BMX track. My dad actually, when he was like real like 5 or 6, he would do BMXing and stuff like that, and
That's
when
funny.
yeah when yeah when they got the crazy idea. It's like, hey, let's turn this into a racetrack, and hey, ever since it's what it's been. So
I love that, man. That is
Crazy.
super.
Same place, same story, everything. That's where
Yep.
generations of racers. That's something that they should probably do, Jake, and you could take credit for it. Is that to make a little billboard or make a little banner or something that shows the champions that have come from that racetrack.
yeah
Whether it's local racing, national racing, whatever they've done, if they can make the list of all the kiddos like you that started racing there and then moved on to win championships in trucks and legacies and stuff like that, that'd be kind of a cool deal to see right there.
I'm almost positive the Labanis. I don't know if they raced there, but I think they did. But I think they would go over there and watch the races and stuff like that. And I forget the story. I think they did, but I don't take my word for it.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, no, a lot of legends, a lot of racers come and go out of that.
Speaking of legend, my man, you are one, because there are not a lot of people in Texas that can say that they've won 3 state championships, 3 track championships in anything. in anything. So again, another great job. Talk about all the folks who make it happen, man. I know you got great sponsors.
Yes.
You got some hardworking people.
Absolutely. Sins Martin, can't thank them enough. LT Division, Tech Source, they came out in a big way this year. We came through some adversity. We got our truck stolen and everything like that, and it's just something else to be proud of. But
Yeah.
no, Phil's Trailer Sales, Moore Law Firm, Brandon Ernest, Buzzy Transmission and Gears, Robbie White Engines, and also HMP Oval Track. I can't thank them enough for everything they do. Terry Barton, Owen Pittman. Without those guys, we wouldn't be racing. So I really appreciate everything that they do. And also Kruger Motorsports as well. Without those guys, we also wouldn't be three-time champion either, probably, because we'd probably still be struggling. But I'm happy. I'm just happy that we came together and we did it. So
Yep, did it again. Always glad to see you guys winning championships, man, because you're some of the best people that you're going to find. So
well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Got it, man. Congratulations on that. And I'm sure that we are going to see you very, very soon, my friend. You guys be well and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Y'all too. Have a good off season.
All right, man. Take care, Jake.
See you, Jake.
All right, later.
There goes showstopper Jake Wright. Another championship, man. You remember it hasn't been easy for them.
Not this year. Not this year has been challenging off the racetrack. Obviously, you always have your adversity on the racetrack, but like you said, going through the truck getting stolen and all kind of stuff happening on that side of the world, that to come out to end the way that they did, I think is a really good deal there. So that that's a cool deal. Obviously, they're great people. Full disclosure, we know them fairly well. We spend a lot of time with them at a racetrack, but they're just good people. Bruce is a great dude. Miss Ellie's always been generous with her time and her cooking for us all the time. So just good people to hang out with is the Wrights over at Jake Wright Motorsports.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Michael, man, no, I feel great. I mean, it's yesterday you couldn't even talk to me. So I'm doing good. Don't worry. Everything's good. And I'm not contagious, apparently. So no worries. Just one of those things. Kind of a little bump in the road, little what do we call it? Pre-holiday cold, I guess is what we can call this. So
no, we call it the Derby flu. You get sick when you come back from the Derby, but now you get sick when you come back from the big crowds there at Tarleton. So
yeah. No, I got sick from staying in my kid's apartment because she was sick. And I think that's what it was. I caught college kid fever or something like that. I don't know what it was, but that damn little shit. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. But that's okay. It was great time spent together. So I kid about all of that. Bobby, so again, now coming up, Grant Whitney, at 7:30 will join us as he is your new champion over at H&P in the H&P stock cars. Bobby, I mentioned to you a while ago where, with Joey Logano winning the championship, his third. And, we remember when, all of that goes down to where Logano is going to take over the 22 car after, what was that? Allmendinger had some issues right there. Sam Hornish had been in that 22 car. And, there were a lot of people that were kind of advocating that they wanted him, to be the one that was going to drive that. And this is something that I found last night. This is Brad Doherty, the basketball player and now team owner and NASCAR analyst, and Rusty Wallace talking about when Joey Logano came into the 22 car replacing Sam Hornish.
And make Sam Hornish Jr. better?
Yeah, I think it could, simply because of the distraction going away. He has to answer these questions that we ask him week in and week out. And I tell you what, I thought Sam Hornish did everything that he possibly could within his power to give himself an opportunity to have that cup ride. And I'm really surprised that he doesn't. But now he can focus solely on winning this championship.
Look, I got to tell you, what I'm about to say is probably controversial, but I don't care. I think this was a major mistake. Yeah. I think Sam Hornish has done a great job. I'm disappointed in Penske Racing for making this decision. I think it was absolute sidestep. This guy right here, Sam Hornish, is fantastic. He should have stayed in that 22 car, and everybody in this garage area has been saying the same thing I'm saying. I'm disappointed. Joey Logano's a great guy, no doubt about but this guy deserved the chance to stay in the 22. I totally disagree with Roger Penske's decision.
Sam Hornish Jr. obviously has the support of his team. What about Elliott Sadler now that he's
How many championships do you think Sam Hornish would have right now?
None.
That's my thought.
Yeah, none. I mean, when he had a full-time Cup ride there in the 77 Mobil 1 car, he couldn't get out of his way when he was trying to go, great IndyCar racer. Just another one of those guys that couldn't make the transition full-time over from the Indy cars back to the stock cars. So,
yeah. And I think that was one of those things with Joey when he came in. And again, a young kid like that. I mean, there was that was kind of really one of the first guys where, a young kid comes into a high profile ride like that. And that's the buying the ride thing, where we first started hearing that. But I mean, it's one thing. And it's always the person that has to come in after a legend. I mean, when Tony Stewart gets out of that car and then Joey Logano, you're what, 19, 20, what?
18, 19, yeah.
And you step into that car, into the Home Depot number 20, that's just a recipe for failure. I mean, put Dale Jarrett or somebody in there and maybe you have a different result, but that was not going to work regardless, in my opinion. I thought that then, and I still say that now.
Well, it just didn't work, right? Sponsor-wise, like who are you going to have? A bunch of old school racers and a bunch of middle-aged guys shopping at Home Depot? Or are you going to have a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids shopping at Home Depot? So I think that it became a challenge. Excuse me.
Uh-oh.
It became a challenge. Yeah, getting sick through the stream, right? It became a challenge that whole time. I mean, let's be honest. He stepped on a lot of toes and he shit the bed right when he first started.
Yep.
I mean, he had a lot of issues, stepped on a lot of toes, pissed a lot of people off. He still does that. But the difference is he now doesn't care. I think he cared before, but now it's like, he's there. I didn't hear as many boos yesterday as I thought I was going to hear with him winning the third championship. So it's, he still steps on toes, but he doesn't shit the bed near as often as he did when he first started.
Yeah, that's for sure. And again, our race breakdown will be coming up after we talk to Grant Whitney. Grant will be on at 7:30, and then we'll kind of get into to all of that. But this is where we get into another situation where, as if all of that conversation that you were talking about, Bobby, about with the the old point system and all the different things like that. I mean, when Joey Logano gets in the way that he gets in, the way that he got in, which I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, the 48 car, they got thrown out and they didn't appeal it. So it's one of those things you get in, you take advantage of every scenario that you can find. But when you go in and you look at the body of work that Joey Logano did in the playoffs, kind of hard to argue. I mean, yeah, he wasn't the best all year, but he sure as hell seemed to be the best in this format when it counted. But I think the format is the thing that is just driving people crazy. And I think a lot of the people being driven crazy is the fact that it was him that won, kind of that Jimmy Johnson thing.
Kind of to a certain extent, but I mean, I think that it became it became an issue is that, I mean, you said it here on the show. You said, what happens if he goes out and wins Vegas and then wins the title? And that's exactly what he did. He went out and won Vegas. They say Vegas is the third most important race to win, not prestige-wise, but in terms of races to win, because you're the first one to punch your ticket to the championship finale. You're first one to punch your ticket into the championship 4. And it doesn't matter what you do at the second race of the round. It doesn't matter what you do at the third race of the round, because once you win Phoenix, or once you win Vegas, you're just concentrating on Phoenix. And that's all you're going to do. So that becomes that's why that becomes a really good race. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that the winner of Vegas is the one that wins the championship, but it definitely does not hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another track champion over in Houston checking in right there. Brian Benedict from Virginia as he wins. Bobby, you mentioned the hotly contested Legacy Series. Brian able to secure that championship right there. And you talk about there were some things there along the way that had to work themselves out. But when it's all said and done, in an ultra competitive series, and like you said, and talking there with Jake, I mean, there's so many cars in that class that when you look, when they come rolling out, I mean, it was like you never know. You never know who's going to be fast that particular race. I mean, and it's a guy that maybe the last time that they were out there, he was running in 10th, and then you look up, I mean, like the rookie, like Colton, like Gillinger. I mean, the guy was learning the car, and then hell, he was in the top 5 the other night till he had some problems. I mean, Megatron Calvin Johnston, that I like to call him, that guy had been a little further back in the field, but hell, right here we got to the end. Guys in top 5. I mean, so that tells you how competitive that division has gotten.
And it's definitely it's growing. There's a lot of interest. The cars, are, what they're doing. They're buying cars. They used to be road race cars, converting them back to oval track cars. So it's to see it evolve from where it was. Same thing with the Legends cars out there. There in Houston, started with 2. I think they had had a dozen or so there again on Saturday nights. So it's it's great to see those divisions. The one thing though that I was proud to see evolve over the course of the season at Houston, especially with the legacy cars, is that they went from being just little bitty and who gives a damn cars to being a showcase for the racing that can happen there at the Palace of Power there at the H&P Oval. So they went from just being, they're just little bitty cars, they're not race cars. We try to tell them that all the time on the microphone. Just because they tiny doesn't mean they're not race cars. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be fun and put on some good racing.
Yeah, because if you really look at kind of the whole balance of work this year, I mean, when you want to talk about car counts and all that, and these were 2 classes that had kind of been put to pasture a little bit. I mean, it was the legacies and the legends. I mean, the legends, at least a dozen all the time, so often more. And the legacies, like you're talking about, I mean, 16, 18, 20 at different times. Those were the classes. I mean, what people really hone into, the older race fans, they hone into the modifieds and the trucks and the stock cars and the different. I mean, they weren't there. I mean, they weren't there. I mean, they were very sporadic, and I guess probably what I would say. But I mean, those 2 classes right there, they were dominant in 2024. But this is something. Another great example of this is Nashville, because you can look at Nashville. And man, they've got 2 or 3 different divisions of legends that they race out there, and it's like they could be their own show. They could be a standalone show, but they pull them in, with the other divisions over there. Same thing with Bandoleros. They don't do legacies over there, but I think that the legacy thing is something that could expand itself, and I think they're planning to do that. But then again, that's where when you talk about expanding, especially in something like a legacy, it gets hard because I think guys feel, and I know this because we tried it in Mobile, where guys feel obligated to travel and they can't. And I hate putting racers in that spot where, man, I feel like I should really go, but I can't. And you shouldn't feel guilty because you can't drive 500 miles to go race.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the couple of races that I got to see from Mobile, and even the race that I got to do the race directing on with the legacy cars there at Mobile, was a great race. I mean, they sometimes they tear stuff up. They have a tendency to tear more stuff up in Houston than they did at Mobile. But I think it just becomes the nature of the beast. Obviously, you've got the younger guys need to learn how to do the stuff, and the only way you learn how to do it is by doing it wrong. Crashing cars, having to fix cars, you learn what not to do in a hurry. So it's a unique challenge in any form, but we saw it more so in the legacies. I wouldn't necessarily call it growing pains, but it definitely was a big change from where they were at.
Yeah, and I will say, just kind of to button this up, I do think that like when it comes to pro late models and super late models and even modifieds, not so much, outlaws not so much, I guess, but yeah, there are certain cars that are better suited for a half-mile track. I personally think that a legacy, just for the closeness of the way that they race, for the compactability of the car, they are better suited for a quarter mile or a half mile, or a 3/8 mile like Houston. A lot of times, when I see the legacies race, I've thought this over the years, so it's like I would have loved to have seen the legacies at Austin or at Corpus, because I think they would have put on one hell of a show, especially at Corpus.
Especially Corpus, yeah.
Oh my God, I just think they're better suited for that, because you get them on the big track at Mobile, and just like And I think that's where, and it's more the fan perspective, because they don't roar like the mods and in the super late models. They have, they're equipped differently, and I just think that they're suited better, and I think that's where Houston has a lot of leverage with the legacies, and they can really build a lot around those guys, I think.
I mean, they put him in San Antonio a couple of times, running there with the Pro Sedans, but I also thought it was kind of a weird race for the Pro Sedans to be racing at the big half mile there in San Antonio too. So, but you're right, man. The legacy race there in Corpus back in the day, man, that would have been that would have been a hell of a show.
Yep, that's right. That's right. All right, bottom of the hour. Let's go diving in. We've already talked to one champion from Houston tonight. So let's talk to another one. And I'll tell you, Bobby, if we go back and really think about this at the start of the year, if we would have been like, okay, let's talk about the people that we think are going to be track champions at Houston on the pavement. I think one of the first names at the top of my list would have been Grant Whitney Jr. Am I right,
I don't
Grant?
believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second.
Doing?
I'm wonderful. How are y'all
brother?
tonight?
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. What's shaking out your way, brother?
We're just relaxing at the house. I was putting some go-karts together for my son and watching your show. It's been entertaining.
Oh, well, thank you. Glad to hear that. Most people turn it right off.
Yeah, most people turn it right off as soon as they're done or right before they come on. So, talk about that I don't want to say transition, right? Because, you still race dirt and you race a lot, you raced a lot there at Texana and 105 and stuff like that. But the overall perspective of you or your opinion on going from the dirt, coming over to the H&P Oval, what was that like for you? As I know, obviously, your buddy Donald Kane was winning lots of races on both dirt and asphalt, but you were there competing and just hanging out and trying to have a good time and trying to win races. So what was that transition like for you?
So the transition was easier for me because I don't have the years of experience that the other drivers have. So I had Donald telling me, do this, try this, do this from dirt. And then thank God I had Chuck Barber also, who we know how many wins he's had on asphalt, telling me, okay, try this, do this, do this. So between the both of them, I mean, I got so much information. I mean, I've only been racing for 3 years. So to have those people helping me out has been just a godsend.
So, Grant, kind of talk about some of the differences right there, because I mean, it's always for me. It's been where dirt, and again, I didn't race dirt a lot, and it was towards the backside of when I was racing full time. I was a pavement guy, so it really seems like with asphalt, there's a lot of finesse to it. I mean, you got to hit the marks, and you got to. It seems harder to recover when you screw up. Because on dirt, if you fuck up, you can usually do it with the accelerator and kind of get yourself out of problems. Where on pavement, when you mess up, it's like you're going to shove up the track and you're never going to get it back in the groove. And kind of talk about that part in your opinion.
So what I have is like at HMP, when I raced last weekend, I messed up going in 1 2 bad. I got completely sideways. But from that dirt tracking background that I have, I was able to power it instead of overcorrecting or whatever. I got second in the race. I enjoyed it very much. But being able to have that dirt background to help me when I get loose, because I still drive like a crazy person out there. It definitely helped me out, and it helped me get some good lap time. So I was very happy with it.
Sure.
So what was the decision to try to come over and do the pavement stuff? Was it the payouts, or was it? I know that you and Donald were pretty happy one night when y'all finished like first and third and won like $1,200, or first and second, whatever it was, when you guys took the money and you guys like, hell, we'd have to win 2 or 3 races at 105 to get paid this much. So was it the challenge? Was it the money? Was it both? I mean, what was the decision maker for you to come over to the Oval?
Oh, for me, like I said, I know that Dolar knows this, but I've always wanted to race Big H, and to get to go out there and have the opportunity to race out there, that meant a lot to me. So I was like, all right, let's go try it. And I had a blast. It just being able to hit your marks every time, or good, just go out there, hit your go out there, hit your marks, go as fast. If every time I got to somebody, it was a blast. The money, the money is great. I mean, Owen takes very good care. HMP is taking very good care of the stock cars out there, and I don't understand why we don't have. There should be 20 or 30 out there every night. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, that's kind of been my thought. I thought it would have gotten bigger, at whatever point, but unfortunately it hasn't. So your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think it's something that'll work? I mean, is there something? I mean, I heard some folks saying about the sway bar. I'm like, it ain't that damn hard to put a sway bar on. Come on.
My last race, I didn't even run a sway bar. I ran it without the sway bar, and I ran the fastest laps I ran out there. Take your setup, swap it, go out there, have a great time. Try it. You'll enjoy it.
Grant, that's kind of been my thought, where it's like on pavement, there were times where I wish I could take the fucking sway bar off. I mean,
you know what? I stripped a bolt the day before, didn't have time to put it back together the way I wanted to. So I said, all right, we're just going to run it without it. I already had the broken foot. I was like, let's just see what happens. And I ran some of the best times I've had out there. I had a blast. I don't understand it. I tell everybody about it, and they need to come try it. I know that a lot of dirt track racers think that asphalt is like not their cup of tea, or I'm trying to be nice about this, that it's an asphalt thing, but just try it. Go have fun. It's for a lot of us in Houston. We got 105 in Cleveland. It's 20, 30 minutes. And you know what? If you don't, I mean, we're done by 11 o'clock. We're not staying until 2 a.m. You're home at a decent hour. You don't have to wash your car afterwards. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, you don't have to spend 2 hours power washing it when you're done. And I mean, you're not wrinkling nearly as many fenders on it. I mean, yes, there is wrecks, but in dirt track, we rub on each other and everything. In asphalt, it's almost, I hate to call it civilized racing, but it's a little more civilized. I don't know how to explain it.
It's kind of been my thought for a while.
Well, that's what we've been saying for a while now. Tell us about this broken foot, dude. I didn't even know you had an issue with your foot. What happened? And how hard the hell was it to race with a boot?
I didn't race with a boot. I actually, because I want to do it right. So on Halloween, I did a backflip over some kids, not on purpose. They were in a wagon behind me. I landed it, perfect 10 for the judges, but I had Crocs on, snapped the bone in my foot. And the first thing my wife says is, "You're not racing Saturday." And I said, "The hell I'm not." So yeah, we got in a big fight over that. But I got out there, didn't feel it at all. It was great. We did the interview with Owen afterwards. Felt great. Loading that car up, I was crying. I was in tears. Wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done, but you know what? I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I mean, I love this. I love racing. I've always wanted to do it. Like I said, I've got a great partner with Donald and a lot of great people out there that I've met, and it's just so much fun for me.
Yeah. Grant, do you drink alcohol, my man?
Do I drink alcohol?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one right here.
Okay. Was alcohol involved in this incident on Halloween?
There might have been a little moonshine involved.
I knew it. See, I've learned to ask, because people come on here and they start telling us things that have happened to them. And I'm like, how drunk were you? Oh, well, I've been sober for 30 years. I'm like, oh shit, sorry. So, yeah, I always ask ahead of time now. Grant, don't you think, I mean, something that you said a while ago kind of triggered my mind. With that close proximity of those two racetracks in the Houston area over there, and with the size of that metropolis over there, man, don't you think that, I mean, I'm not saying like it's your fault, but I mean, between those two racetracks and that population and that business industry driven everything going, oil, everything over there, both of those racetracks should be thriving like a son of a gun right now, don't you think? If they, not so much, I mean, they work hand in hand, but if they could like cooperate and build each other up a little bit.
I would love to see it. I know that we've tried to do it. We haven't been able to do it yet, but we're trying to do one race where I can get us to race at HMP and then try to finish the night at 105. I'd love to see us try to do that one night and win both races. Even if we start last in the feature, It's something we've always talked about trying to do, because we get done. We're usually one of the first 2 classes at HMP, and to be able to run that race and then head right up to 105. It's a 30-minute drive to 105 from there, and try to tack on to the end of the feature. We're going to try it one day. We're going to try to see if we can get both that same car in victory and asphalt and in dirt in the same night. So
Yep.
that would be really fun to be able to do that and be like, hey, that car just won an asphalt, and we came over, swapped the springs, swapped the shocks, and went out and did really good in a dirt track race. Because the asphalt gets done a little bit earlier, especially with the proximity and whatnot to Houston, and with so they have to be done a little earlier. And 105 getting done around 11 midnight, and with us running early. So I mean, it's one of those things that it might work out one day for us.
Sure.
But I'd love to see them work together. Maybe do a Friday night race at 105 and do a payout at HMP for Saturday. Hey, you run here, come run there, and there's a bonus if you can win or something. It would be cool to see something like that work out, or vice versa, and see if we can work that out and grow the class that way too. Like I said, I'd love anything I could do. I would be willing to help out on that one.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you're wanting to run it full time again next year. Is that in the cards? Too early to tell? I mean, what's your game plan right now? What's your gut telling you for 2025?
I'll definitely be out there full time next year. I'm trying to field a second car too. I'm gonna see if I can get. Donald will be out there when he can, and then I'm trying to get my dad to come out there and do a little bit of racing with us when he can. He hasn't raced yet, but he's done some laps. And then my son, he's about to turn 10, so he was watching those quarter midgets. Man, those look like so much fun. And I'm going to try to get him to get out there doing some laps at 105 in the dirt. We're trying to get him the hobby stock class. And then I'm going to talk to Owen about maybe what we can do, what class I can get him out there at HMP into.
Yeah, we need to get Houston needs to get the quarter midgets out there again. I mean, I think that that would be good in a lot of ways. I think that would work really nice for a lot of people.
It was so cool to see all those people watching the quarter midgets, and it was so much fun. And those things, they hauled around that little track. They were hauling.
I didn't know they went that fast.
I didn't either.
Know they went that fast.
My dad's like, I don't want your son in that. And I was like, no, he'll be fine.
Be all right. It's got a roll cage in it.
That's what I told him. I was like, they got arm restraints. They'll be all right.
Yeah, seat belts. It ain't no worse than a Ferris wheel. He'll be all right. Yeah. He'll be all right. So Grant, on the dirt side, so do you have any dirt left this year, or are you done? Well, I know you got the hoof there, but hell, you raced with it the other day. So what's the thought with that?
I'm done, but my cars will be all over the place. We'll be at South Texas Race Ranch for at least one, maybe two of their races. And then you never know who will show up. If there's a race, there's a good chance one of my cars will be out there.
Love it.
That's great. Well, we look the Texana schedule is already out. I know you have a good time when you go down to Texana, so I look forward to seeing you down there in 2025. So hopefully you'll get a chance to talk to me more than just on this show, maybe down there in front of everybody at the end of the night one night next year.
I would love to.
Grant, so what's going to happen with dirt factory stocks? I mean, because now you got the hobby stocks that, I mean, I like the hobby stock idea, but I'm kind of seeing them kind of trend a little bit. Factory stocks, obviously, there's different sets of rules and tires and all these different things where there's a lot of back and forth. Kind of your thoughts right there. That factory stock class kind of seems like it's growing in ways that I hate to see classes grow. I love the great car count, but at some point that stuff is going to bottom out, and that's what you don't want to see.
I love factory stocks. I like hobby stocks too. I mean, we got both, but
yep.
I prefer factory stocks. I feel like it's more traditional stock car, dirt car racing than the hobbies. I think the hobbies are actually, they look like factories, but I feel like they're closer to a street stock. Yep. With how much, with the headers and what you can do to them. It's hard because they're getting so close to one another. I honestly don't know where they're going. I mean, like I was at the Battle of Boot Hill. We had, a huge car count out there, and but you're seeing a lot of the factory stock guys run hobby, so it's like you're getting to run twice in two different vehicles, but they're kind of like the same. I see what you're talking about. I don't know how to explain it, so I'm hoping that they can go back to distance themselves. The problem is hobbies were supposed to be the entry class, and they've become they're almost equal to factory now. So you don't have that entry class anymore. I mean, other than I'm talking about 105, you have the Outlaw mini stocks, but it's not quite a entry class even with those. So there is no dirt entry class anymore.
That's right.
Now, South Texas Ranch has pure stocks. Now that is I wish they would go back to those rules, and they run the pure stock rules everywhere. And we had the actual entry class. It should be an entry class, factory stocks, street stocks, modifieds, limited modifieds, what you need, and from there. But I mean, that's just my view on it, and it means absolutely nothing to anybody, but that's how my view is.
Agree.
Well, I mean, your opinion matters to us. I mean, but it usually doesn't. Yeah, your opinion matters to us, but it's not always heard, right? The promoters, and nothing against the promoters want the most car count, right? So if if they run pure stocks and they didn't get enough car count, and then they run hobbies and they get better count and stuff like that, obviously they're going to pick the class with more cars. But I see what you're saying with the entry. That's the funny part about it is like Owen always says it's not entry level, it's affordability. But hell, now hobby stock is getting. I mean, you're not spending the tens of thousands of dollars that you're spending on a factory stock, but you're still spending multiple thousands of dollars to get into racing. If you get into one of these hobby stocks, or pure stocks are a little cheaper, $2,500, $3,000, depending on if you can find it. But to get a competitive hobby stock, I mean, you're looking at least a minimum of $5,000, right?
Yes, probably. I mean, most of the hobby stocks now are running crate motors, so you're looking at $5,000 just for your motor.
Yeah. Yep.
So just a motor's $5,000. Another car, in a hobby stock, you're looking at another $30,000. You're looking between $5,000 and $10,000 for a car for hobby stock. But then again, if you want to be competitive in factory, you're looking between 18 and 25.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess you're right in the fact that hobby is the affordable class. But at the same point, that's just where we are now when it comes to buying cars and parts. I mean, just everything is more expensive now.
Yep.
At least till November, or at least till January.
There you go. So Grant, do you think that, in your opinion, just coming over to asphalt this year with the Crown Vic thing that hopefully will happen there at Houston, do you think that that's something? Because like I always say when I'm out there announcing, I'm like, I'm not going to tell you that it's in the economical class, because there's not one. I mean, there's not one. I don't care. This costs money to do. Do you think the Crown Stocks is something, again, in that huge metropolitan market? Do you think that that's something that can take off?
You know what? I just looked into it, and I do, because you can go to a police auction and get you a Crown Vic for $1,500, throw a cage in it, and for $3,000 you can be racing.
Yep.
And you can be out there, and not only that, you can be competitive because they all have the same motor. It's not like anybody's out there. The whole point of that class is to go out there, and that is a very affordable class, and you can have fun in that class. And it wasn't this weekend, but the last time I was out there, we got to do our hot laps basically with the Crown Vics. I got to watch a couple of them, and they look like fun. Like, I want to get behind the wheel of one of those. I'd love to see more of those in dirt too. I know 105's done the cop car ones, and I'd love to see more of them on dirt too. So it'd be fun to watch them on dirt, and then be able to take them to dirt and still also be able to take them on the HMP. That could be a lot of fun in a very affordable class. And the rear-wheel drive, which makes it a very entry level, that could be a great entry level.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's got the possibilities to it. So, but that's cool, dude. I'm glad to see you in a good mood. Last couple times I saw you, I mean, you're always smiling and in a good mood, but last couple of times I saw you, you weren't as happy because I don't think you were racing. So, but it's good to see you in a good mood. Good to see you win a championship, and hopefully that's good moving forward. And hell, you never know, you might get a few more cars to your collection. You keep rolling around with championships. Let's see, you need a quarter midget now, You got the go-karts. You want a Crown Vic. I mean, you're going to have this massive stable. We'll start calling you the Rick Hendrick of the South over here in a minute with as many cars as you want.
That's I've always told everybody I want to be Dale Earnhardt. I want to be Richard Hendrick. That's what I want to be. I want to be Rick Hendrick.
There you go. That's right. We'll start calling you. We'll call you Rick Earnhardt.
Jesus.
That'll be your new name. All right, my man. Good stuff. Congratulations. But by the way, thank you for coming to race with us. I mean, it's we really wanted to draw some folks over, and man, when you came over, we told the story about your history there, with your dad, and that was really cool. But the fact that you came over and you stayed with us, man, I think you're really chartering something that's going to be something. It's going to be really cool down the road out there for those folks in Houston.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, my man. Take care. Get that foot well, and keep working on them cars. All right, I think we got him. They kind of flipped on us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, good stuff right there.
Bye,
And he
guys.
did. I mean, that dude Grant was totally bought in. From the first time out. I mean, he was super excited to be there, and he took to it. And I like what he said right there. I mean, because that. I don't understand. I never really understood a lot of it. I mean, because it's $800 to win. I mean, that's pretty damn good
For that class. That's a good amount of money.
And the whole thing is, I mean, if you look at that, when it's 5 or 6 cars, like it has been, it's like shit. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer to do that. But I know travel is involved right there. But I mean, it just looks like a ton of fun to drive, and it brings back that old school stock car thing, and it's really been fun. And he did a tremendous job, man. He was really good all year.
Yeah, no, he did a good job, and he was waving the banner when he went to the dirt tracks too, because I talked to him about it in Edna a couple of times when he was over there running in Edna. So he was talking about all the fun he was having and trying to get more and more people to come over. Him and Donald Kane Jr. both were trying to get people to come over. Like I said, that one night I think Donald won, and I think Grant finished second or third, and they swept and took home like $1,200. When no disrespect to 105, 105's got 3 times the car count and paying $400 to win.
Yeah,
they're in a factory stock. So it's the math is I've never understood the math on why it doesn't work. Never understood the idea on why it never caught on, especially with the abundance of factory stocks. But maybe a pure stock. I think that you don't need to run a pure stock there. I think with the chance of getting the Crown Vics in Houston, I think that opens up the door to have more competitiveness than a pure stock. So
yeah. And I think Houston, and here's Adam Haw checking in right there, talking to Grant right there, telling him great job. I mean, Adam's another guy that in conversations that I've had, with the race folks here in Houston, I'm like, it's guys like Adam Haw that you need to win them. I mean, that's the guys that you want to have out there, and Adam raced out there when he could. Excuse me. So I mean, those are the guys you want. I mean, those are the guys that they come in with experience. I mean, the thing is with Adam, he came in with experience. He came in and he ran his dirt car. I mean, he didn't go in there and do all these different things. And that was kind of always, or has always kind of been the thought, where what you don't want to do is you want to keep it in that dirt realm. You don't want it to be to where you get a brand new purpose-built asphalt stock car. That's not what you're going for, because then you get into the outlaw problem, where it's like, okay, here's the basis of what we're trying to do, and then boom, here you go, it's all out of control. And by the way, our friend Cody Brusso has 2 really cool outlaws for sale at a great price. Message her on Facebook, or Brooke, one of the 2. I'm telling you, Texas guys, if you want good race cars, there's 2 of them sitting in Florida that you can get at a really, really good price. But kind of what I determined this year, now that the season's over, I think that for Houston, with this class that we're talking about, the whole what were they called? What were they called?
Grand stocks?
No. What were the H&P stock cars called before? The bootlegger. The bootlegger idea. Yes, by all means, invite those cars, because like Russell the other night. I mean, that's one of those bootlegger car ideas. But I think the emphasis needs to be more on the factory stock, where like at I-37, the bootlegger idea with the Fireball, it has just worked like a charm over there.
Yeah, it's done wonders over there for that car count.
Amazing over there. So I think that's one thing that hopefully Houston determined that this year, okay, we kind of need to push this direction. Yeah, if you have an old HMP, because when he brings the old, HMP or a pro stock out, it's like, if you have one of those, come on, let's figure out a way to make it work. But really make a push to the factory stocks, because those are going to be the ones, because the other ones aren't coming. They're better suited for what's going on in Pleasanton.
Unless you try to do what Pleasanton's doing on asphalt, but I don't think that's going to work.
Well, I mean,
take that same set of rules and adapt them to Houston, but
I don't.
But they tried that with a bootlegger. So
yeah, that was kind of my thought right there. Is you tried it with the bootlegger, but I think that where the problem came in is that you had so many of those cars were not central to Houston. They were more over there, because in Bexar County out that way. Because if you look at them, it's a lot of people that are out there. I think if for the bootlegger idea to have really worked, it had to be somebody that really wanted to get on pavement, that was going to haul all the way over there, for that. And it just is a great idea. But it's just where it just proves how great ideas may or may not work, because at I-37, shit. I mean, whoever came up with that idea needs a raise. At Houston, not so much. It just never panned out.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the bootleggers never took off, despite the best intentions sometimes still don't work.
Absolutely. I mean, it was, and the other part about that was, and this is something that's kind of upset some people in the past when it's been mentioned, mainly by me. The HMP Pro stocks went away for a reason. There weren't any.
Yeah, there were like 2 or 3.
Yeah. And if you really go back and you think about those times back then in Kyle, I mean, we had all these super stocks or street stocks, or we'd have 25, and over there they'd have 5 or 6, or at one time they did have an abundance, but they started to fall back, where the super stocks, we started out, we had 3, and then by the time it was all said and done, we had 30. But the difference was, I mean, you didn't see a lot of guys from Kyle that would go to Houston. I mean, whether it be, race conflicts, the dates didn't line up or whatever, but in Kyle, we would have like David Webster. I mean, even Ian raced with us in the super stocks and all that they would come over here and race. And that just wasn't the case over there in Houston. I think if the pavement track would have been I-37, the bootleggers would, there'd probably be 80 of them right now.
Maybe. I see the correlation for sure, because when you see them bringing out of the woodworks, it's a lot of the old. A lot of it is the old asphalt cars. Now they're incorporating old late models in there too. I don't know if they have to add a weight break or a weight penalty or whatever to run a late model. But I mean, I've seen a few of those pop up, and we'll see. I think are they adding the fireballs to any of the big shows coming up?
I don't know. I don't know if they're on that card for the big event that's coming up. I mean, I would hope so. We'll have to dig in as we get closer to that, because I think that for Ray and them, I mean, although, just talking to different people, I mean, people, when you're at a racetrack, people tell you a lot. And it seems like after, what is this, year 2 of the fireballs, you're kind of at a point now to where it's like, well, people are kind of pushing the issue and this and that and the other. And that usually happens with car count, because it's like the higher the car count gets, that means that folks are finding the class and they want to come in and whether it be from a different division or they've had this super car hidden somewhere, and they come out and can make it conform to rules somehow. So there's some of that. So
yeah, everybody wants to conform the rules to what suits them the best. And if there's 15 different cars, you got 15 different voices in the ear saying, "Hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do this."
That's right. And I think that's going to be the charge of I-37, is to figure out how to keep. I mean, our man Matt Hodge stepped away from that class. He had been the one to chase in that class, and there were things that he wasn't happy with. He said, "I'm cutting my losses and getting the hell out." So whatever you think about that.
Well, that big clip didn't help a whole lot.
Yeah, when you get your shit destroyed, that tends to irritate you. But we'll see what happens with that. But that's just two different scenarios of where that really good idea worked in one place and it didn't with the other. But I think for Houston, you have a saving grace to where, like Grant was talking about, it's really a lot of fun. And the whole thing about it is, imagine, Bobby, if you can get 20 of them, it's $800 to win right now, or it was, and they never cut the purse. If it was $800 to win with 6 or 7, hell, get 20 of them. I think that would grow.
Yeah,
but
it makes sense. You think the purse would grow a little bit,
but I do think there is that mystique in there to where it's on both sides, where it's like the dirt folks are like, well, asphalt, and the asphalt folks with dirt, they're like,
dirt's for farming.
Dirt's for farming. People ain't no good. It's like, come on, you guys. You don't have to pick one. You don't have to pick one. You can like them all. You like them all.
It's possible.
It really is. It really is.
And it's not hard to do either.
No, it's really not. It's really not. Just give it a chance 1 or 2 times. All right. So great stuff right there from Jake and from Grant Whitney, 2 champions over in Houston. So you had yesterday, I found some more sound today. The pace car thing yesterday. Oh my goodness. They got that second pace car out there quick, didn't they? You see that?
That's why they always have 2. Everybody wonders why they have 2. And that's why, in case something messes up with the first one.
I think the pace car driver was just showing out or something, because it was one of those things where I think he thought, oh man, I got to get off the track. And he just kind of whips it over right there. It's like when you make that lane change, trying to get over to the exit lane, and he just kind of whips it over. And that was, I don't really think, I remember they stole the pace car at Talladega that one time.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Did they ever confirm if he got popped by the 9?
I never heard if he did. I didn't think he did.
I don't think it's pretty close, but I don't think the 9 popped the pace car when he turned left.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think he just kind of made an abrupt move right there, and just kind of lost control right there. And my Camry had really good, what do you call it? Traction control. The last Camry I had good traction control. You could whip that thing over, and I never broke it loose. But anyway, so here's Denny Hamlin. This is some sound from Denny Hamlin on the radio, and it's perfect that it's Denny, and you got to listen to this all the way. This is Denny Hamlin and Chris Gabehart, their radio communication as the pace car incident happened yesterday at Phoenix.
Oh shit, pace car. Like a pace car crashed.
Yeah, they haven't seen it yet either. They haven't caught it off. Yellow, it's back out.
just when you thought you'd see it all.
It's fucking NASCAR. It's so NASCAR.
Denny Hamlin. They'll probably find him for that. Come on.
Yeah.
Don't be mean. Don't be saying those things.
His in-car stuff is very entertaining every week.
Yeah. He's something else. He's something else. So it is Joey Logano, your champion. It was a hell of a run right there for Ryan Blaney. Just everything. And it's really funny because when you look at this, because the conversation is that Joey Logano was no good all year, but Joey Logano said something in the post-race press conference last night that I really took to heart, to where he said, because they asked him, is it a legitimate championship, or all the different questions, and Joey Logano said, essentially what he said was, this is the system, this is how we raced it. If things were different, we probably would have raced different. If you really look at what they did what they needed to do. They took care of business and got the win. And then when it came down to the playoffs, that's when they excelled. They weren't worth a shit. You look at it, and they were horrible. And I think we talked about that, to where it's like, man, what's wrong with Logano? Forgetting he already had that win in his pocket.
Yeah, I think when he won that 5 overtime race there at Nashville, to
Yeah.
get into the playoffs initially. Everybody's like, oh, it's just a fuel mileage. And I think he did another fuel mileage race in the first round of the playoffs. I think he won at Atlanta to get into the second round.
That was, the second round. That's right.
The second round. And then, of course, he, with the DQ of Bowman able to get back in, making the most of it. I mean, that's the deal. Like, I mean, remember, I guess it was the Giants. They were a wild card team. And they got hot in the playoffs, and they go up against the unbeatable Superman Tom Brady and the Patriots, who were undefeated, and then they get their ass kicked in the Super Bowl by the Giants.
Yep.
So it's like, you just in every playoff, you got to get hot at the right time. That's the way playoffs work. NASCAR got everything they wanted out of this playoff system, and they've gotten it every year, especially since they started the elimination format. Because you wanted those game 7 moments, and literally all except for last year, the guy that won the race is the dude that wins the championship, except for last year with Blaney, who finished second.
Yep.
So NASCAR is getting what they want. When it was 15 to go, I was on the edge of my seat going, oh, who the hell's going to win this? Because, the teammates are rated. There's multiple storylines. Blaney trying to go back-to-back. Logano trying to get to 3. He's caught him from, 5 seconds away, under green, no caution, caught him. Is he going to, are the teammates going to get together? Is Roger Penske going to say something? It's like, what's going on there? And I was on the edge of my seat all the way to lap, 312. When it was over, it was over. And I was like, I took that big, deep breath like everybody else did. Like, wow. First time I see about it is NASCAR got what they wanted out. Not when I say got what they wanted, they didn't want Logano to win per se, but they got the drama they were looking for that this playoff has built into the sport.
Mm-hmm. And, the other part about that was I was really hoping that something you mentioned there, I was hoping that Ryan would have gotten closer to Joey, because I wanted to see what was going to happen. I mean, were they going to, how defensive would Logano get? Would Ryan put the bumper to him? I mean, I was really curious to see what would happen there, but I mean, it just didn't work out, because I think that last run right there was very much just a kind of a snapshot of Joey Logano this year. You get to the end right there, and it looks like looks like there's a chance he's about to be beat. And I'll be damned, that car became a jackrabbit again. And Newman, Blaney just couldn't get to him. And it was, say what you want. I mean, look, Logano raced the system. And I'm going to pull this up, Bobby. I know you said you didn't want to see it again, but I mean, for everybody that wants to go back to the whole scenario there about the old system. Yeah, it's the old system. This is not even in play, like you said. This is all what if. This is if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, and every other cliche that you can look at. But for the folks talking about, well, Larson didn't get in the playoffs, and Larson wasn't in the Final Four. He's 5th here with 6 wins. Does that fix the problem?
Well, but he's also 6 wins, 5th in there with missing a race.
That's right. Well, there's that.
If they take this point system and he gets another 185 points for winning that race, he's 130 out. If he gets 185 points for winning the Coca-Cola, let's say he just starts the 600, he gets 100 points.
Yeah.
Where is he going to be? He's going to be right there, 2nd or 3rd, fighting for it, because he stepped a little too much. He pushed the issue too much there at Homestead and spun out. I think if he didn't have that issue at Homestead, I think he would have been in the playoff in the championship 4.
Yeah.
I think that, looking at it like this, it's just one of those, you're just like, man, just move on. Just move on. Although it is ironic, though, that another Elliott would lose the championship by 5 points.
Yeah. But, and here's kind of the other part about it is it's kind of been the one thing that I've always talked about, where, I mean, look at that. Yeah, Bell and Elliott, -5. 5 points back for second. But, I mean, the races that we really enjoy, the 92, Hooters 500, I mean, but in this system, I mean, it's the ones where you actually had more than 2 dudes that were capable of winning the championship. I guess looking at this, if you went into the final event with this system, Reddick and Byron, who were in the Final Four, by the way, would have had a chance to win. But would they have? No. I think the other thing that people are really honing into is that with Logano, 17.1, the average finish. you know, that's a travesty. But that's not the system.
It's not
I,
the
I
system
don't know why
anymore.
they do that. You know, it's like that's not the way it works anymore. Um, I can't wait till the end of this college football season when the 12-team playoff, when somebody's pissed off about that, and they're like, "Well, here's what happened in the BCS."
They're already doing that.
That's not the system.
It's already out there.
Yeah.
Actually, don't get me started on college football playoff. The thing that pisses me off is that your group of 5 team, you know, because I'm group of 5 pros, because my team's in group of 5, not in the power 4. But it's like, you know, the team that's going to get screwed is the group of 5, because they're going to be automatically seeded 12th, whether or not, you know, unless they find a way for the ACC to eat itself and Boise State goes undefeated the rest of the year. That's where Boise State could, in theory, end up as the 4th seed. But I mean, does the ACC end up getting automatically placed 12th? Or are they going to end up putting Boise State in at 4 and then everybody else is going to go where they are? Or is Boise State automatically always, is the group of 5 guy always going to be in 12th? But that's another discussion on a different show. But
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I'm sure that's going to be the case. I mean, I'm absolutely positive that's going to be the case.
Because it's going to suck if Boise State ends up in the top 10 and gets seeded 12th.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen. I can promise you that's going to happen.
I mean, it's going to happen, but it still sucks.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's a conversation that can go on for days. And again, those playoff rankings come out tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central on ESPN, where you can find out where your college SEC. I know we got a lot of SEC folks checking in on Racing America, so we can talk about that sometimes. Especially that's going to be the nice thing now, because that kind of NASCAR's out of the way. There's going to be some gaps in there between, you know, some big dirt races down here and stuff over there. I mean, in Pensacola, I mean, all the different things coming up. The Bigley 128. Boy, that's going to be a huge one.
That's that for the pre-entry for that is just outstanding.
God, man, what a show that has turned into, man. And they've done that. They've done that homegrown too, man. That's really cool. By the way, speaking of that, they had the North-South shootout at Caraway. I saw yesterday, and it was Matt Hirschman, the winner in that. And I saw that one of those Myers boys got, well, one of them ran into somebody and caused a pileup, I think. And then another one got a helmet thrown at him. Oh,
one got turned and started that big pile up.
Yeah. He got turned. I'm sorry. And then the other one got a helmet thrown at him. It's like, guys, you ain't at the Bowman Gray. Come on, calm down. There's no reality show going on right now.
Speaking of Bowman Gray, you see how the people losing their minds that NASCAR's taking out the Armco barriers or putting in concrete walls with safer barriers?
Yeah. They're up
people
in
are losing their mind about that.
Yeah, they're ruining it. Well, you know, I mean, for what Bowman Gray is, I kind of tend to agree. But the fact that they're going to run those cars there, I mean, the Cup Series, I mean, you can't run them like that.
Did they have softball at the Clash?
Yeah, they had those temporary soft walls that they could put in there, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, that's kind of part of the gig. I would have liked to seen them stay with the Armco, like Richmond used to be back in the old days.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty good. That would have been a good test. Not that I want anybody to be injured or anything, but I think that would be a really good test right there to see one of these, you know, kit cars bounce off of that Armco barrier, and that would tell you how well they're built and how, you know, the front stub and the backside, and do they work hand in hand?
They still got to with them toe links. You hit the rear of that car on that Armco, that toe link is toast. Not that it ain't toast popping softballs, but if it hit that Armco, man, them rear toe links is just gone.
Yeah. They gotta stiffen that thing up somehow, because it's a damn shame, and that's the other thing. They gotta figure out this injured car policy, get some consistency there, get all of that done.
I think they just need to get away with the DVP. Period.
I agree. Just let them go out there. I mean, I love those old. I mean, look, I'm one of the worst guys with back in the day stuff. But I will tell you one thing that I like back in the day is when those cars come rolling out there with no fender, they're duct tape everywhere, holding shit together. I mean, that's cool, man. That Mark Martin one where he's got the hood.
Talladega,
yeah. I mean,
has the duct tape number 6 on the side because they had to replace so much sheet metal on the side. Like,
yeah. Speaking of tore up cars, so I was thinking about this earlier, where it's like when folks are talking about, you know, well, the guy with the most wins, you know, Well, the guy with the most wins doesn't necessarily win all the championships. Let me give you a list, and I'm sure I'm missing people. This is just, I thought about this right before we came on. If the guys with the most wins shouldn't have won championships, Matt Kenseth would have never been a champion. Benny Parsons, speaking of damaged car policy, they put a whole new half a roll cage in that season finale so he could come back out. I think he exceeded the pitch clock or whatever they call it in that one. Darrell Waltrip in 1985 would not have been a Cup champion.
Should have been Elliott that year.
Yeah, Bill
in
Elliott
theory.
had a hell of a lot more wins than he did. And it pains me to say this, but it only fits into our conversation. Our man Terry Labonte would not have won either of his 2 titles.
Nope. 96, Jeff Gordon had more, but Labonte was just more consistent.
And 84, I think 84, there were 3 guys that had more wins than he did, but it was consistent. They worked those systems right there. So just with those names right there, that tells you that when you work the system correctly, like, and I don't mean it in a bad way, the point system, like Joey Logano said last night, when you do it that way, you should be worthy of a championship. Would I have liked to have seen somebody else win the championship? Absolutely. But he's the champion. And you know what? When it comes to folks that represent the sport well, can't get much better than that, dude.
He's learned. I mean, he's got appeal. And biggest thing, now that FedEx is gone, he is now one of the last guys with a damn near full season 25 race sponsorship by one company with Shell Pennzoil.
Yep.
Now, granted, a lot of that's a business-to-business deal with Penske Auto Group, and IndyCar now runs Shell Fuel and stuff like that. But regardless of why that sponsorship works, it's still one of the, he's sponsored by Auto Trader for a couple of races. Sure, he's sponsored by AAA for a couple of races. Hunt Brothers Pizza. But when you think of the 22 car for Joey Logano, it's the 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford Mustang.
Yeah. And the other part about that is, Bobby, when look at the way it all shook out. When folks say, well, Blaney should have won. Blaney should have been the champion. Well, Blaney didn't win a whole lot of races this year. He didn't win as much as Larson. Blaney didn't trailblaze the season.
Hell, Logano's got 4 wins. That's second on the series behind Larson 6.
That was the other part of when I pulled this up. I mean, that was my thought. It's like when you look at this, it's like, okay, so yeah, maybe he doesn't have the best average finish and all this, that, and the other, but is it really right with 4 wins that Joey Logano finishes 11th? It's like, oh God.
Harrison Burton, 1 top 15 finish, 2 top 10s or top 20 finishes, and he's got the 1 win at Daytona, made the playoffs for the Wood Brothers.
If you want to talk about where the system and that, I turned on channel 90 for a little bit today, and a lot of folks were saying, well, what you need to get rid of is the win and you're in thing. He never came up. He never came up. It was other folks that came up. So what about him?
He's got that Wood Brothers protection.
Well, he did.
It did.
Yeah. So, and that was a great moment, and that's fine. But that's where there's different ways. But and I'll kind of finish off with this. Everybody, you and me, Bobby included, and folks across every one of these different networks that we're on, and folks that are going to watch this, and people on X and Facebook and they get upset with what happened and the way this all shook out and whoever won the championship. Everybody says the system is broken, but there's not a lot of people that have ideas how to fix it, right? It's like, go back to the old one. There's no tweaking, there's no anything. You go back to the old system because that fixes everything. Did you watch Happy Harvick's podcast last week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said that sure as hell that ain't going to work.
Happy Harvick, I think, hopefully NASCAR maybe they gave him this idea to sell it. I doubt it, because it sounds like a Kevin Harvick idea. Kevin Harvick has the best idea on how to fix this, and this will tweak this system to where I think people don't have as much room to complain.
For now, we do have a regular season champ with Tyler Reddick, but he's not the regular season champ if Kyle Larson shows up to Charlotte. I got an idea. I think, what if we took the regular season champ and he got an automatic bid into the Final Four? We reward the regular season points champion
with a spot.
Because
of their body of work the whole time.
He's in the championship 4. Well, guess what? Second place, you're going to go to the championship 8.
You're going to go around 8.
And your third place guy, he's going to go to the championship 12. Fourth, you're going to be in the 16. Because then it at least gives you something in the regular season to not only race for first, but we're racing for first, second, third, and fourth. You got the championship points and an automatic berth into each round of the playoffs.
I think that's something to think about.
I don't think it'll work, but it's worth looking at.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will come up with the points and say, based upon, how they said when they first went to the elimination format like they have now in 2014, they said Dell Jr. would have won 2 titles.
Yeah. So, but I don't see, for a lot of reasons, I don't see that. I mean, it's impossible. It is totally impossible for NASCAR to go back to this.
No,
because the reason being, I mean, with the new, and I think something that's going to, I'm curious to see a lot of things next year, but I think now with the new media partners and just the way everything's going to be, there's going to be, I heard in the State of the Sport address on Friday or whenever that was, where they were talking about just the significance and the footprint that's going to be laid out coming up to make sure with practice and qualifying and exposure and promotion and all that. I think that's going to be a really, really big thing. But I don't necessarily think you need to go in here and tweak this system, but I don't know. Do you think they're going to change something?
I don't think so. I mean, they've already got an in-season tournament that's going to pop up on Amazon Prime for the summer. So, I mean, that's the biggest change they're going to make. Imagine that. Your mid-season, in-season champion doesn't make the Final Four, doesn't make the championship 4. Is that going to be a discussion next year? I think it's going to be on who wins. When Chase Elliott won in 2020, there wasn't as much backlash as there was this year.
Yeah.
Blaney won last year, not as much backlash, but I think it's just because Logano is so polarizing.
Yeah.
There haven't been this much backlash on a championship since Kyle Busch won in 2015 after he missed 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is I do agree that the regular season champion should have some sort of
15 points isn't enough.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I do like the automatic thing because you should be rewarded. Automatic berth into something. I mean, maybe the 8, but the regular season champion was in the Final Four anyway. So that's where
that's not common.
It's not and it's not based on him winning the regular season. It's based on him winning that race. So again, if you're going to have a regular season champion, you need to reward them in somehow other than, I mean, I'm sure they're rewarded financially, but
a trophy and 15 points just doesn't cut it.
Yeah, it really doesn't. So hopefully that's something that's going to get figured out. But regardless, I mean, the bottom line is Joey Logano is your champion. And in this playoff system, that they excelled when they had to. I mean, and this does not matter at all. That's not how we do it. We haven't done it, or they haven't done it like that in
20 years.
In a long time. And that system was not all that great. That the way that laid out, yes, maybe. But go back and research that if that's what you're going to lean on. There were some good ones, but there were more bad ones than good ones. So.
Yeah, I mean, 97 was decent when you had Gordon, Mark Martin, and Dale Jarrett battling for it right there. So
yeah, but I remember watching those races where it's like so and so has to finish 13th to win the title, and they keep showing the champions out there, eating bonbons while he's driving, smoking a cigarette and shit. He's just, I mean, if you want to talk about the whole race, what they call it when those guys were blocking, if you want to call all that, yeah, you're race manipulation. You're just out there kind of jacking around, playing with yourself, to finish 13th. I mean, that's not intriguing. I guess if you're in the car, maybe it is, but
I mean, when you had to finish, 36 and they bring in 2 extra cars to make sure you finish the holding it, like that time they did with Jeff Purvis there, and Gordon needed to finish like 39th or something like that, and they brought in Jeff Purvis and made sure he was 5 laps down so he couldn't finish ahead of Gordon if something happened. Remember that?
Yeah. It was, I mean, that's not. And then, I mean, I remember those season finales. I mean, like when they had them at Riverside, and it was Waltrip and we haven't even mentioned, rest in peace, our man Bobby Allison. They would get out there and they would race, and it was usually Daryl that had an advantage there, and Bobby'd go break a transmission because he was driving that damn car so hard that he burned the rear end up or burned the transmission up because it was an insurmountable amount of points that he just couldn't make up, and that sucks. I mean, that's boring. I mean, I don't know. But on that note, man, Bobby Allison, man, I'm glad he got the 85th when he got it.
Oh, I think NASCAR knew something was coming for them to do that, especially coming up with Bowman Gray and all that. So I'm glad to see that he got his 85th. And we just recently reposted that. So that was a good interview. Looking at reposting a lot of the Legends interviews over the off season.
Yeah. That's one of those guys right there to where as a longtime short track fan, and I think a lot of folks will understand this to where, Bobby Allison, the NASCAR driver, is just, unbelievable. I mean, just a great, obviously the 85 wins and Daytona 500 wins and all the different things, a Cup champion in 1983, where all of that is there. But to me, I mean, the true, I mean, Bobby Allison is those short track stories. I mean, like Freddie told on this program, and Bobby Allison was that guy where it's like that dude would just dart the United States and take his short track cars out and go race. It was like he raced at Speedorama. I posted that the other day, and for 79, where he went out. They had a race here, I think on Friday. They raced at Bryan on Sunday. Hell, he came and raced here, and he would do that. I mean, he just, wherever it was, he'd go to the tracks, and that those were the really cool days, because those short track stories about Bobby Allison and those guys are the best ones to hear.
Yeah, no, ones. Not just Bobby did it. Darrell Waltrip would do it, but a lot of times at Nashville or the All-American 400. Mark didn't do it as much as once he got back up to the Cup level, but Earnhardt did it some, and so there was a lot of cool stuff back in the day.
It's funny. I've had the conversation with folks when they talk about, man, Sterling Marlin, one hell of a NASCAR racer. I'm like, oh yeah, you should have seen him. You should have seen him on the short tracks. That was Sterling Marlin. I mean, that was. Those are good. I mean, those are good stories, but really, really, really cool stuff. And sad to lose BA there, because that's a legend, and a lot of thoughts there to Donnie. I mean, because those guys, I mean, they were tight as can be.
Still were at their advanced age too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure lots of thoughts there to the Allison family. All right, Bobby, let's get ready to close this bad boy out. Another Monday show. Again, big thanks to the showstopper, Jake Wright, Houston Motorsports Park truck champion once again for the third time, and Grant Whitney, dirt ace, who dives over in the factory stocks, or takes his factory stock over to the pavement and wins a championship there in the HMP stock cars. Kind of a slower week, man. What's on the horizon for you?
Not a whole lot. Nothing off the top of my head. Obviously got the UTSA game Friday night, which kind of opens up Saturday. I've been working on my my golf cart project, which is why I can't buy that PT Cruiser, because I just spent a bunch of money on a golf cart. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Plus, the better half already said no, and I showed her a picture. She's like, absolutely not. Maybe I'll try to get me a hold of one of them Crown Vics. Won't get a chance to race it a lot because I'll be in Edna a lot, but just depends on how the schedules shake out there. Maybe I'll get a Crown Vic or something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Race season will be upon us very, very soon. Just kind of on a side note, the Houston dates, those are going to drop, I would say, within the week. I have got confirmation. You're going to hear them here. So that's going to be the whole thing, whether it be on a Monday show or a special edition, some sort. So just kind of stay in tune with the HMP Oval page and on Revved Up as well, because you'll hear them live as they drop, or for whatever may be coming for the folks in Houston in 2025. All right, my man, have a great rest of the week. I don't think the weather's going to cool off.
No,
but,
no.
Yeah, we're with the same old shit all over again. Enjoy your week, brother. Hope everything keeps rolling forward.
Yeah, to get a little better, I hope. But we'll just keep trucking along. That's the joy of it. So, but we'll hope everybody has what's left of your race season. Everybody have a good race season. So
that's it. And the big show's coming up. We will cover them right here on #Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show. We will do it again next Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central. Showtime, Bobby Chaffee down south. I'm Rodney Rodriguez up north as we kind of circle around the Austin area. We'll do it again next Monday. You all have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Find a racetrack or a streamer near you.